Hey everybody, it's a bumper week here on the Popcast Network as I double check to see where my camera is. Yeah, so anything and everything is happening. Um, you get not one, not two, but three videos in 3 days. It's like the ultimate, Cyber Monday sale.
It's like
Except,
sweep week.
yeah, I guess. Um, so yeah, tonight is the Q&A bit, pop the question. Tomorrow will be Movie Club covering They Live. And then Tuesday, myself, AJ, and Owen will be getting in predictions and doing all that stuff. So keep it on your docket. I think the tentative times I were given is, as you can tell by now, it's roughly 6 Eastern. Unless you are somewhere else in the world, in which case, too bad. Which includes myself, so I need a mirror so I can go too bad at myself. Um, 6 tomorrow also for They Live. Um, and then a little bit later at 7 Eastern for the predictions for November. Which, now that I've actually seen another film that's being hotly contested, and might be seeing another one in the next week or two because it'll probably disappear because fucking Avatar. Uh,
Yeah, I really hate Owen right now, having seen Banshees of Inisherin, The Fablemans, and Glass Onion,
oh,
and I still have not touched any of those yet.
you know, I'd have seen Glass Onion if they actually bothered to like want money
Yeah,
and put it in a cinema near me. That everyone's saying go to your nearest cinema. Well, I don't because I went through the list and none of them had it. Great job, guys.
yeah, I got so many emails from Regal talking about Glass Onion, and it just right then I knew that it was like, no, you're not. At least not this one.
So many banners hit at this cinema for 1 week only, and I'm like, but it isn't. It's at about 18 of your 80 cinemas. So, way to cover base there. Oh, but
And another thing I'm on behind on, but that should only be for the next couple of days because I'm pretty sure I'm going Tuesday. I'll be seeing Bones and All on Tuesday.
oh, the film that flopped at the box office because what sums up Thanksgiving like cannibals. Uh,
I think they were really banking on Timothy Chalamet's fan base.
and they
That's
were
the
like,
only
nope,
reason I can think of
they were
that a
nope.
Luca Guadagnino cannibal movie would go wide. There's no other explanation.
Chalamet's fan base doesn't give a damn. Just like the Screen Actors Bill, but we'll get to that. Not a Screen Actors Guild, but the Independent Spirits. What a crazy mess that was, but that'll be Tuesday. Uh, Open. Welcome everybody to November 27th edition of Pop the Question, the Q&A session with you guys in chat. I'm your host, Ashley. Joining me as ever is Chris.
Hello.
Making sure he was awake by doing it in the opposite order to what I've sometimes do. And also AJ.
Yes.
Owen is in transit, should be here in the next 10-15 minutes. So you'll get the full allocation. Um, so the first thing to note, which is annoying for Spencer's first couple of comment or some of his first couple of comments. So Spencer, if you can take your uh, director stuff regarding Best Picture and your adapted versus original post and like remember them, copy them into a Word document or a notepad thing, and then paste them up in 48 hours time. If not, if I have to, I'll make a down of them. But I won't bring them up on here because we're going to try and keep the award stuff on the awards shows now. Because obviously it's going to be getting to the point in the next month or two where we're going to have to go back to doing weekly award stuff. Because that shit's going to get crazy again. and not in a good way. Um, but Lee Spencer has some other vague things. I'm trying to wait until Owen is here to let everybody like put in their predictions then, so it's like even, so it's not like for 15 minutes beforehand like what 3 of the 4 is. Just to be just to be fair. Also, I realised with the way that I'm doing it with my festive and non-festive entry, just to like cover my ass, uh, the best thing is the way I'm gonna have to put it in the chat here in terms of what you vote on. You'll see why I'm like excited for that in a minute. But first, which is I guess topical to some extent because of the film that came out this past week. Spencer asks us for our thoughts on Zoe Kazan.
For the longest,
Underutilized.
yeah, because for the longest time, well, for the longest time, she was just the girl that DiCaprio bangs at the beginning of Revolutionary Road. And then wasn't it her that was in The Exploding Girl?
Yeah, the year after.
I don't I didn't really have the appreciation for indie movies then when that came out that I do now. So I remember that being like excruciating. Like I really, really hated that movie. Like it was just the overly quirky thing that was really big at the time, and I just wanted to make that movie in human form so that I could strangle it. And I haven't seen it since, but I do wonder if I'd appreciate it now, now that I know her more as an actress and that I can probably appreciate those kind of movies more now than I did then. But I do think when she really started standing out was probably Ruby Sparks, the
Yeah,
Dayton Ferris movie
which she
with Paul Dano.
wrote and exec produced as well. So
And then she's amazing. I think my favorite performance of hers is the Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
I vaguely
And
remember her being in one of the student screenings that I went to see a decade or so ago, which over here it was called What If, but I think for you guys, at least according to Wikipedia, it was called the F Word.
we had it as What If.
Okay. It was something like that. One of them had like a weird title where they changed it.
Yeah, I remember the F word being an alternate title, but I can't remember where or
No.
when that would have been.
And then, of course, most notably, Big Sick as well, which I think she did a good job in
Oh,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah. See, the Big Sig felt so real, and with Kumail essentially playing himself, I keep forgetting that Emily didn't play herself, and that's Zoe Kazan.
Yeah.
And then obviously she said she's great. I think
Hopefully.
I think I think Mulligan might have stood out a little more to me, but I think the whole ensemble of She Said is amazing, so it's kind of hard to even gauge who's better than who or who stood out more than who. I have not seen Wildlife yet, but I'm very interested in that. That she, what is it? She wrote it with Dano,
Yeah,
and
she
then Dano directed.
co-wrote it with Paul Dano and exec produced.
Because I believe Dano actually said that he wrote it, and then Zoe Kazan almost completely rewrote it and made it significantly better, is what he said.
uh, but yeah, I'd like to have seen her do more stuff. To be fair, because in essence as well, like even like the TV stuff that she's done, it's mainly sort of been semi miniseries stuff like Plot Against America and a couple of episodes of Olive Kittredge, and showed up as a recurring character in The Deuce, David Simon's basically porn movie. David Simon's Boogie Nights.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good to see her getting a bit more recognition again? Oh,
Owen's gonna whip his ear for that question.
uh, Zoe just having given birth to a second kid last month. Spencer also asks underrated gangster or mafia movies for us to watch. Underrated.
There is a movie called T-Men from like the 40s or the 50s that probably got overshadowed by G-Men, the lesser, more famous Cagney movie that I really love. It's kind of like it perfectly fits what you would want out of like an old, like when you just get this urge, like you see somebody in a movie watching an old black and white gangster movie and you're like, you see that and you're like, I want to see like what really established that sort of area and what the best movies of that era were. And I feel like T-Men is the kind of movie that perfectly fits what you'd be looking for.
I'm trying to work out whether things that are British would be sort of underrated, at least in terms of American terms, like the original Get Carter and Long Good Friday, which have been considerations for my list for the movie club.
Nice.
Um, because I don't know how much of like an international, especially because the Long Good Friday was originally supposed to be, I think, a TV movie. And then Handmade Films sort of came in, George Harrison and all that, and said, no, we'll make it a film. Similar to a fair few things. Any underrated gangster films from you think, Chris?
No, I've seen most of the major ones. Except for the Godfather trilogy. I haven't watched the Godfather trilogy, which I know is like a cardinal sin. I'll get around to it.
Yeah, I could have sworn you'd at least seen 1 and 2.
Parts.
I kind of hope we're together when you do that. That's something I would love to do.
Oh,
You see, if that's the case, did you review Coda when it came out last year?
Yeah, it was kind of a versus between Coda and the original cut.
Okay.
I think that was back last September, I think. It was one of the first ones in September.
I was trying to remember because it's like one of those where it's like, could it have fallen through the cracks? Because it's like, do we need another version of? And in hindsight, probably yeah. I don't know.
I also got a shout out. I did one of my favorite new Thanksgiving traditions. The day before Thanksgiving, I rewatched The Irishman, and I just, oh my god, I love the movie so much. I love that it's just like I love that watching it at Thanksgiving now is just part of my life now. I'm gonna probably do that till I die now.
I'm trying to work out now whether, like, other than Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, what's the film that just fits like Thanksgiving 24-hour loop, like A Christmas Story is broadcast over in America on a 24-hour loop?
well, the day before Thanksgiving, I did a double feature where I watched Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and I paired it with the Pauly Shore movie Son-in-Law, and that was literally all I could find for Thanksgiving that wasn't like Thanksgiving or something like that.
I don't know how I always forget Son-in-Law took place at Thanksgiving because it's actually a really good option. Like say what you will about Pauly Shore, but that run there with Encino Man and Son-in-Law, I feel I'm shameless about. I go back to those. We've talked before in other Q&As about how much I love Encino Man. It's got to get its own video one day.
Maybe you should consider it for Movie Club.
I was gonna say if Fraser wins the Oscar, it'll be the very next movie club after that.
Are you putting that in stone?
Stone, as in the Stone Age.
Son of a bitch. He did the thing.
Plus, isn't Pauly Shore's name in that just Stoney?
I believe so.
Spencer also asks...
We should do it for a movie club anyway, just because, hello, Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
We have to just find Brendan Fraser films. Or Brendan Fraser projects. Spencer also asks thoughts on Sebastian Stan.
Okay. Can I be real with everybody? Now that he's famous, this movie has become a meme, essentially. But when it came out, I unironically loved The Covenant, and I saw it in theaters 3 times. And yes, he is extremely corny and over the top in this, but I never forgot him. When he started really breaking out, when he started playing Bucky, all I said was, that's the guy that's the heel in The Covenant. And that he was for a very long time. So, yeah, overall, I like him. He might be a tad overrated. Because he's done some shit like The Bronze. And honestly, I never cared to check out Pam and Tommy. That was probably more of a Craig Gillespie thing. Obviously, everybody knows I fucking hate I, Tonya. Speaking of, but yeah, stuff like Fresh, like Fresh, in some of his scenes, and like the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Yeah, I dig him overall, but he's made a lot of shit. But he's a very, very good actor. So.
I was going to say, I feel like he brings a lot to Bucky that doesn't necessarily have to be brought because it's a superhero Marvel movie, but he brings it every time.
Oh, great. Sebastian Stan's next project is a Craig Gillespie film about the GameStop trading thing that happened like a year or 2 ago.
Of course that's going to be a Gillespie movie.
And yeah, Owen's here. How was the trip?
I've
Owen?
come here to answer questions and drink Diet Pepsi, and I'm all out of Diet Pepsi.
Dude, you're a day early on that.
Rest in peace.
God,
we're in bubblegum colors with the Acclaim, so it works.
I wish I now had like a can of Diet Pepsi, as if somehow by you throwing it out is like, oh, thank you. Because you like,
hi friends,
you like literally lifted it up like as if it had come from like.
And you know what that means? That means I have a lot of sipping snacks I have yet to put up. Okay, right. I'm sorry. Traffic, gotta love it.
Mm-hmm.
It's Sunday. It's my last day of vacation. I've literally been off since Halloween. Done a lot of things. Got paid for most of it. Good stuff. Good times. Realized I like Encanto a lot more than I thought I did. Anyway, at the end of the day in this case, I will say right now that I have a couple things I want to share with everyone before we get started. Now, it's come to my attention by having eyes that there are a lot of topics that are covered on these QA shows. Well, I also know that sometimes the show can get kind of bogged down with things and we can't keep up with chat because everybody is just so gung-ho about putting up different ideas and questions and everything. And we love doing these QA shows. That's the reason why Pop the Question exists. However, since I am the Matt Cardona of the Popcast Network in every way possible, at the end of the day, we have to understand that we have to keep the awards conversation to awards shows. We can't do that anymore. We just can't. If you have questions about the awards shows or history that ties into another show we're already doing, save them. Save them, we'll use them. And then we can have fun on those shows as well. And we can leave these shows for like the hypotheticals and all the Josie coming up with, let's cast insert movie here with this cast. and come up with a premise for a movie. That works great for this show because that's what this show is. Pop the Question is literally that. You're asking us questions. You're asking Chris questions, AJ questions, Ashley questions, and sometimes you ask me questions. And sometimes I can give you answers. Sometimes I can't. Needless to say,
you missed a question while you were gone that you probably wanted.
Well, considering the fact that I was gone, if you have anything that you would like me to elaborate on, I totally can go back to those.
The first question was thoughts on Zoe Kazan.
I've been a fan for a long time. She's very familiar. Notice as you have been around me for years, you would know that when I say somebody's very familiar, that means I can identify with somebody in my personal life. And Zoe Kazan is exactly that. Several people, actually, if you really think about it. Solid actress. In another year, I would love to see her get nominated. Not going to be this year, which sucks. But that's how strong this year is. And that's the last piece of Oscar information I will bring up. I'm the host. I have magic powers. Anyway, at the end of the day, I think she's a solid actress, and I think that it's nice to see Hollywood is not sleeping on her anymore. They're actually giving her some roles, something meaty, like she said, that she can actually just knock out of the park, and then she become a bigger name. Kind of like what they're doing now with Chalamet. Like Chalamet was kind of he was kind of on the outskirts, and then he gets some serious
Coopers.
Yeah, gets some serious movie roles, and now he's in a fantastic movie that not enough people are going to see because there's 9,000 theaters for Wakanda Forever. So, but yeah, watch Bones and all. Josie and I agree with that 100%. Because I know she watched it the other day because I saw it posted on her. I think it was on Instagram, but I think it might be through TikTok. I stay away from TikTok because I'm 41 years old. So needless to say, I hate TikTok. I'm sorry, it killed music. But that's beside the point. So yeah, got a view of Ashley. It looks like it's a very festive season. Looks like a present with his shirt today. Chris, I see the birds chirping from your beard, so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. That's good. AJ's got a Mr. Rogers look going on. I like that. That's cool.
I don't know how often Mr. Rogers wears a Jaws shirt.
Black Friday sale. What'd you say, AJ?
I don't know how often Mr. Rogers wore a Jaws shirt, but he's got the...
Did you see the James Carey version of Mr. Rogers on In Living Color? That Mr. Rogers would have worn a Jaws shirt. But yeah, there's so many great things we want to talk about tonight. There's a lot of things that we're going to discuss. And like I said, if you have awards conversation, you have ideas for what you want to see get in, what you think your prediction is going to be, save them for the award shows. Because that way we have a lot more to talk about. And we keep the Q&As for just like random questions. That's what this is all about. It's just random questions. So I think I covered everything. Cool. I mean, I can hear you, but that means that... Okay. I'm looking at some of these questions here, like from the previous messages in chat. Is there any other things like... AJ, you have access to the chat, do you?
No, I'm just looking at Discord.
That's fair. I'm looking some more. Welcome back.
To quote Penn Jillette from a previous movie club, are we live?
Should be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hang on. Switch. Oh, hang on. Full screen. Switch back.
So, AJ, did you get into the normal story about the Pink Panther whenever you when Josie brought that up in chat a little bit ago?
Have we gotten there yet?
No.
I don't know where you guys have gone because I've been gone.
We literally just did that. We only did a few. I mean, for the last 4 minutes, I've been trying to work out why my microphone wasn't working. because I
would
getting
assume
any output at all. So
now that we're all here, I assume our next plan of action is the poll.
yeah.
Yep.
So we need to go in order of production. So first up is AJ, I think.
Well, yeah, like I alluded to before, it's the holiday season. It is the most joyous time of year. So naturally, I'm going with another thriller.
Of course.
That I don't recall having much, if anything, to do with it. But I said it was involving that question we got before about femme fatales.
Ooh.
And so and as far as I know, last I looked, this is a movie that's just hanging out on YouTube. So it's got a Criterion release, but you can also just find it on YouTube, as far as I remember.
Okay.
I believe it's 1945, and it is the Gene Tierney movie Leave Her to Heaven, which was kind of like the 1940s Fatal Attraction.
That's cool.
Okay. Owen, you are up next.
So, when I had to fly to California, it's a long flight from Orlando. It really is. The time zones kind of mess with you, make you think it's a lot shorter, but no, it truly isn't, especially when you fly back. It's even longer. So, I decided I would watch movies because they actually gave us like little earbuds, like free earbuds when we walked in. I was like, wow, they must have undersold the flight. So, needless to say, they're going to give us something they normally would make us pay for. Like Chris knows, if you go on a plane, you have to pay for those gimmicks. They gave it to us for free when we walked in the actual cabin. So I watched movies. Of course, first thing I watched, Clerks 3. No question, no doubt, best movie of the year. It's not going to change. Spoiler alert for a couple months from now. And then it was like, I hate this streaming crap. It has ruined everything for me. It has made it difficult for me to watch anything outside of the Best Picture nominees, and I have to fight to get those. If I didn't go to California, I don't know if I would have seen Drive My Car twice last year. But I got lucky. And I got lucky that I have local theaters that will work with me. Well, the great thing about that is that instead of watching one of the streaming movies that I probably should watch because it quite possibly could be the front runner for animated, and deservingly so, because I've heard great things about Turning Red. I really want to see it bad, but I can't get over the whole streaming thing. And it doesn't work with my rules. So I watched something instead. I became reacquainted with a movie that I fell in love with in 1996. A movie that I absolutely love, and a movie that I can still quote to this day. I own the soundtrack, and it's something that has actually developed a little bit more stability in my life when you look at the actual story. It's floated around a lot in my life. AJ knows that. We've had this conversation before. This movie has been around forever. Chris, you know about this movie. We've talked about this movie forever.
The first time I saw this movie, it was because you showed it to me.
And it's funny because with Clerks 3, you had the California connection. With this movie, you had the California connection. And I was on a plane to California, so it made perfect sense. Yeah, my pick for Movie Club this month is going to be That Thing You Do.
And I'm honestly shocked it took you this long to choose it.
You're not wrong. I think it was watching it again that got me to realize that I quote that movie daily. I know the music. I have the soundtrack. It's such a phenomenal movie that was way before its time. That's why it's never made it on the network, because we don't have anything to do a versus with. Yeah. I've begged for it forever, but there was nothing that we could put it against. So Movie Club exists. We're going to talk a little Tom Everett Scott and Tom Hanks, my friends.
So then it's me. If I can get that working. So mine is the first caveat that I'm bringing in. Depending when this gets selected in the thing, you're either getting the Christmas film or you're getting the non-Christmas film.
Only fair.
So if it comes first or second enough in the vote, we can probably fit it in for Christmas. If not, it's going to be the other one. So if you want my selection to be in the first 2 weeks of the rota, or sorry, the first 2 times of the rota, the December bit, your pick is Get Santa, the kids film from like 2014, which somehow didn't get covered on Popcast. This is like on the cusp of like stuff that AJ might have reviewed.
Yeah, why was that movie not covered? Because we liked everything.
It got recommended to me about a year and a half, maybe after it came out, and before then I hadn't even heard of it.
Yeah. What happens when you take the guy who does God knows how many horror films and make him do a kid-friendly, actual, like, pack screening right the day after Christmas? Because that was the only time that I had the chance to see it, and I was like, well, it's after Christmas, nobody's going to be here. Holy shit, there's a heck of a lot of families here. I mean... but if you want to purposefully leave that stuffing away in the back of the thing for 12 months, your other selection, if we get to January, is the only film that they don't talk about very much. A Fistful of Dynamite, Once Upon a Time the Revolution, Duck You Sucker. I'm purposely using the English title because then it means my prediction list here is going to be Get Santa Fist Dynamite. I think that might give me a chance of doing well.
That's very convenient because Duck You Sucker is the 4th movie in my Leone box set with the first 3 parts of the Dollars trilogy, and I have not watched it yet.
At all?
Never.
Whoa! Tension mounting. It's either something that he didn't get to see 9 years ago, or something he didn't get to see ever, but also 9 years ago. Technically. And then finally, we have They Live, Chris, but are we going to get back to back, depending on what you bringing up, Chris?
Well, I could promise this time it won't change in the middle. But I don't really have a backstory with mine or anything. It's just a movie that I've wanted to talk about on here for a while, and AJ knows. Like Owen's movie, we just could never find anything to pair it with. My pick is Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Oh.
Another movie I can identify with. The names have been changed, but the situation remains the same.
Yeah, because we had, you mentioned this the last time, and I had forgotten at the time, but yeah, when I first talked about Movie Club to you and we brought you in, it had come up so many times to do a video on it. I pretty much assumed Scott Pilgrim was going to be your first pick doing this, and then you said something like you were going to save it for later, and now later is here.
So the poll.
Yeah, but looking back, isn't it probably fortuitous timing that we picked Mask of the Phantasm?
Yes.
Yeah, weirdly. I mean, not weirdly, sadly weirdly. That's a thing.
In this case, Network didn't kill someone. It was paying homage to their career.
We got in just in time, like when we did the Norm Macdonald video, when we did Dirty Work versus Screwed.
Yep.
I think it was less than a year later we lost Nolan after that.
Yep.
So
another thing before we get started is I do want to make mention somebody that has been a fan of this network for a long time, and that's Goodfella Tim. And when you're talking about versus ideas, he has thrown more than anyone us, and we have tried to make all of them stick as best as we could. We brought a lot of them to the channel. So I know, if I remember correctly, Scott Pilgrim was on that list at one point, but we never can make it work. So that's the great thing about Movie Club. Now we don't have to pair it with something. We can just talk about it for 40 minutes. Let's go.
So I guess this is because of Bones and All. Spencer's asked our favourite Chloe Sevigny performance and thoughts on her and an actress.
Kids or Bully? Kids.
She's not in Bully, is she?
No, yeah. Sorry, it's been a while.
Yeah,
Kids.
I was gonna say kids because she's good and she's in a lot of memorable movies, but apart from like Boys Don't Cry, obviously where her Oscar nomination came from, I don't know that she, at least from what I've seen, there's a lot of stuff of hers I haven't seen, like her Lizzie Borden movie or like Big Love or something, but apart from kids, she's never really stood out to me that much.
That's fair.
I liked her as like the concerned girlfriend in Zodiac.
Yeah.
That was like in a film that was very
I liked her in
male
American
orientated,
Psycho.
It was good to see her as like a good female role.
And I know a lot of people kind of like sleep on Larry Clark for obvious reasons because he's very divisive as a filmmaker. But he basically, to say the least, but his movies show you just how trash generation was at that time. And it's a nice little portrait of just how effed up everything really was. And I kind of like his movies. I won't even lie about that. Bully's one of my favorite like movies that I won't really tell many people about. But I read the novel. I know the story very well, and I love the movie.
American Psycho is a good one also. I always forget just how many people are in American Psycho.
It makes me think it needs a revisit.
I'm always down for that. American Psycho is one of those movies I watch at least once a year.
Did we do that? Did we do the Bateman like double with Rules of Attraction?
I did American Psycho versus Mr. Brooks way back in the day.
Ah, that's right.
But I would not. I would not object if we did it as like a movie club or something, because there's a lot. There's
the
a
way
lot
the
more to
rules
discuss
work
than
when
I
it comes to
probably
movie
brought
club.
up,
I think an unspoken rule is the fact, even if it's been mentioned on Versus, if AJ, because AJ is the one doing the videos, is not happy with what happened on Versus and wants to further elaborate, he can be more than happy to bring this movie into movie club or get someone else to bring the movie into movie club.
which means that most verses are on the table because I'm unhappy with most of them. I've only gotten happy with my work on verses in the last like year and a half, and we've been doing it for almost a decade.
Yeah, we have. Oh my god. This has been a channel since 2012, so like the anniversary was literally November 2012. So Pop was May 1st, 2013, but this channel is November 2012 because of course it was me and Ben and Will outside of the Nationwide Arena in Columbus, Ohio, shooting those videos, which I was trying to rip off the Tim Tracker.
Speaking of work I'm trying to put out, I know we're like crunching time here. I was debating, Owen, if I should tell people what I've been up to the last couple of days.
We have a Patreon, but it's non-existent. But we might as well have one because this may play into something like that.
I don't know what's going to become of this, but a conversation I had with a friend recently and Tarantino's new book has inspired me to write a book also.
It's always good to be inspired by your heroes.
Like a nonfiction one.
Yeah.
It's you could say it's pretty similar to Tarantino's in a way, but basically the idea behind it is that I'm just so sick of the negativity in movie discourse and how basically movie culture online now is basically just hating movies, period.
Oh yeah.
And how exhausting that can be. So I wanted to put something out there that was just positive towards movies and was like a love for movies. So I've already written a lengthy prologue that's basically what brought me to writing the book, where I talk about where my love of movies started and then everything in the middle and then up to Muscle After Obstacle. I don't bring up Red Rocket by name, but I bring up that I was very disheartened recently and have not written a script since.
Fair.
And basically in my desperation to keep writing, I have decided to do. I have the whole prologue about my own history with movies, and then the book itself would be an essay for my favorite movie of each year for my first 30 years, like up to my 30th birthday. So every year from 1990 to 2020, I take my favorite movie of those years. Culmination at the end will be, because my favorite movie of 2020 was Hamilton. So it would be half an essay on why I love Hamilton and half an essay on what COVID did to movies and how it made it possible for a movie like Hamilton to be eligible to be my favorite movie of the year. And just kind of having real life bleed in with like how I connect to these movies in a different way also. That's basically what it would be. Like I said, I don't know if I'm gonna finish it. If I finish it, I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. But I need to be working to put something out there because, like I said, since the Red Rocket incident, I haven't touched a script, and that's been going on a year now. So to basically worthless, I have to at least try to write this book and see what happens.
Makes sense.
Underrated holiday or Christmas films?
Jingle All the Way.
I never know anymore if Jingle All the Way is hated or beloved, or is it both?
I'll go with what I almost picked for Movie Club, Just Friends.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a fair one.
Honestly, the man who
I don't know.
Christmas...
I'm in like an old ass mood for some reason. I picked a movie from Movie Club from the 40s. I mentioned T-Men for the gangster movies. And the first thing that came to mind, I don't know if it's underrated, but it's one that I don't know anybody that's seen it. But it's this really just lovely and light Christmas movie from, I think, the 40s called Holiday Affair with Robert Mitchum. It's just like this really sweet love story set at Christmas. And that's something that's always stuck out to me. And like I said, I don't know anybody that has seen it or even heard of it, so I would go ahead and probably throw it into that category.
I guess, AJ, I'm that way with that movie Prancer.
I rewatched Prancer last year. I was always really bored with it as a kid. It's a really good movie.
I really dug that movie. I remember watching it theatrically.
Prancer is also beautifully shot.
Oh yeah, especially like the scenes in the downtown where you can see like the lights hanging from the. Yeah.
Hang on, I'm changing
the light strung up on the stoplight.
I'm changing the region just to.
We flip skied a bunch of times, so that's why I was wondering if there was something wrong.
Yeah, I've reestablished with.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, I just I'm reestablishing the region back to the east one to try and get it, see if it fixes it.
Back to the question.
Mine, as I remember to transition back. There we go. I'd honestly say The Man Who Invented Christmas. Having seen God knows how many Christmas Carol things, I think what they did with that was an actual different thing. An actual sort of different way of showing it all, rather than, you know, it does feel like that Ryan Reynolds one just feels like it's like a musical version of Scrooged to some extent.
It basically calls itself that explicitly. One of my favorite jokes in Spirited is that Ryan Reynolds refers to Scrooged as that movie with Bill Murray and Bobcat Goldthwait. Of all the people he could have chosen in that cast, I love that he picked Bobcat.
Okay, I'm gonna put over Ryan Reynolds for that line and that line only, because that's fantastic.
And it's hard, isn't it? It's hard to put him over.
And if you don't think we're gonna be talking about Bobcat in 2023, sing it.
Spencer says, I've just seen The Quiet Girl, one of my favourite movies of the year. Who's that one? I'm trying to remember.
I'm not sure what that is actually.
Hold on. I'll
To the Google. Oh, it's an Irish film.
take care of Wiki.
Irish language.
What?
Take a shot. Movie is a drama that is an Irish movie that came out in May of this year. A quiet, neglected girl away from a dysfunctional family to live with her foster family.
Did it get submitted for the Academy?
Mm.
I wanted to really like The Man Who Invented Christmas, but I think that might have just been something I wasn't in the mood for when I watched it. So that's what I'm going to have to go back. I got it like from the library, but I feel like there was like a lot of stuff happening at that time, and I was like maybe just half watching it. So I'll have to come back to it, and I hope I can find more of an appreciation for it.
I guess what helped over here is they never actually. It's like with the one that came out last year. The boy, what was it was Netflix for you guys. The Boy from Christmas or something. I'm trying to remember. Like over here, it got a cinema release, but everywhere else, it was like one of the things with Maggie Smith in. One of the last things from Maggie Smith. Because everything is like, this is Maggie Smith's last thing. It's getting to that point now. I don't want to sound cruel, but it's like, even from that Judi Dench thing, we found out that basically Judi Dench can't read a script now. So it becomes a struggle for her to get scripts and whatever. A Boy Called Christmas, I think it was called, actually, thinking now off the top of my head. That has only just now come out on DVD and Blu-ray because they didn't actually decide to go, let's push it out in February. Like most traditional releases, they actually waited for the festive season to really, capitalize on it more.
It was a Gil Keenan directed movie with Sally Hawkins, Kristen Wiig, and Jim Broadbent and Toby Jones.
And the kid.
Great cast.
Well, okay, so you said Gil Kenan. Was it live action or?
Yeah.
Okay.
The poster looks like it could be animated, but it's live action.
It's based on a kid's I think it's Matt Haig or whatever, the kid's book.
Yes.
Yeah. That's probably why it could be animated, because obviously it's like with the Roald Dahl, Quentin Blake things. Yeah.
It's a Christmas fantasy film.
Yeah.
It's based off that book that Ashley was talking about of the same name.
Spencer.
Next!
I rewatched Batman Begins. I think it's my favourite of the Nolan movies right now. Ooh.
Good. You come to the good side.
Cool.
No, the good side is Dark Knight Rises, right?
I think The Dark Knight does make Batman Begins get overlooked quite a bit, and that is a shame.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, brother, I felt like I was ruining your night recently when it wasn't my intention. Here's the thing about The Dark Knight is that I remember when it came out and I couldn't get enough of it. Oh, and I feel like me and you would just walk into it wherever it was.
Absolutely.
We were waiting for the movies to start because we just could not get enough of it.
Oh, yeah.
And then when we did our big video, our Burton movies versus Nolan movies video,
Yep.
my brother's first time on this channel was that video.
That's correct.
I had The Dark Knight kind of very low in the ranking of that. But then over time, it started to rise up again. I started to find my love for The Dark Knight again. But then, not that long ago, within the last year and a half or so, I was at my brother's place, and while we were having dinner, he put The Dark Knight on HBO Max, and I was just roasting it. Like every other line of dialogue just felt so ridiculous to me, and I didn't remember the dialogue being that bad in it. Not bad's overkill, but it was.
Not what you remember.
I have a very complicated relationship with The Dark Knight, I've learned. Wow. I either love it or I don't know. I would say it's objectively good. Like there's never going to be a time in history where I call The Dark Knight less than good ever. But yeah, it's Batman Begins always gets better to me. And The Dark Knight doesn't do that all the time. So
the worst first half of a good movie.
I feel like I feel that way about a lot of Marvel movies. Like, I remember not being into like the first half of Far From Home or the first half of Multiverse of Madness, and there's probably more. But I love their second halves.
I love this movie, and I have put this movie over to so many people. As a matter of fact, it'd be great to put it on Movie Club one of these days. And it's the reason I know the existence of Ellie Goulding. Yeah, the beginning of Spring Breakers. Because they're two completely different movies. Because the moment that the GP leaves is when the movie really kicks in. It becomes so much different than what you're expecting it to be. And if you write it out, it's better.
I love all of Spring Breakers, but I get what you mean.
I'm not necessarily saying I consider that to be the case. I'm just saying I see that is a general consensus with people.
You know, the first half of Spring Breakers is the half that Jeff Jarrett's in.
I know. He is a actor after all.
The first 2 minutes, damn it.
AEW's Jeff Jarrett, thank you very much. Jeff Jarrett can do no wrong. Next.
I'm trying to think if I can't think of one off the top of my head for myself.
The problem is I'm not seeing these questions anywhere, so Ashley's the one that has access.
More often than not, it's more a case of it's the second half that lets down a good film. I can't think of a good film that's had a really bad half that sort of picked up, at least off the top of my head.
And since you say that, because of how true that is, shout out to Spencer for this being a really
There's
good
a lot.
question.
And AJ knows this because we've watched movies together for decades. But the thing about it is, at the end of the day, there's a lot of movies that I do remember being like, this is garbage. I hate this. And then like midway through, I just turn on it and it becomes great. So I have this happen all the time. I just can't think of specific examples.
Josephine comes in with some comments. Hey, Popcast team, just reading Moonflower by Case and Calendar and Tartuffe by Moliere. Both great reads. And then first time watches since last time. Take this Vault.
So good. Such an underrated movie.
Chris, take this Waltz. It's bloody Vault. Like the Parallax View. 1990s Avalon. 1950s Outrage. The Bigamist from 1953. The Lady Vanishes from 1938. Lady Vanishes Again. I'm not sure which one that would be because there's been quite a few. The Losers from 2010. The 1935 version of the 39 Steps. Laura from 1944. The Big Steal from 49. And 1998's Twilight. More fan.
Oh, the Reese movie. So it's really good.
Yeah, it's like that cast is like Paul Newman and Susan Sarandon and James Garner. But yeah, it'll forever be the movie with that first scene. I hate to...
Yes.
Brother, did you have one for the first half, second half question?
I've been sitting here trying to think. of something, and I'm racking my brain. Nothing's coming to mind.
Yeah, because I know I've had that, like Owen was saying, I feel like I know I've had that feeling so many times, where it's like a movie sucks until it just suddenly doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it's a constant with me actually.
Maybe Rocky 4? Like, as soon as it gets to, like, all the like, the Russia stuff and everything, it, like, that's when it picks up a gear. Because
Yeah, it's Rocky 4 pretty much sucks until Apollo's entrance, and then everything after that is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch Creed 2 before I watch the third one because I did somehow it like skipped me in the theater when it was out.
Bryson Chatton says the last 2010 movies I've seen since the last podcast are Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, Dogtooth, open brackets, that movie pissed me off, close brackets.
That's not the wording I would think for that movie. I would think there's a lot of things I could say about Dogtooth. Making you angry is not one of the ones that come to my mind. Spencer, watch Cosmopolis. And Holy Motors.
The Missing Picture. And today, Cutie and the Boxer.
Nice.
Breyer's also purchased the last Criterions of the year: The Buck and the Preacher, Malcolm X, Wally, Power of a Doog, and El Sorpaso.
Did anybody see, like, with Cutie and the Boxer, was it a Mountain Dew commercial they were doing? Because it was the most random. Because I saw that commercial and I was like, wait a minute, they're from that documentary I saw.
I don't even have caught that one just yet. Oh, I'm having that prepared just in case we have to bring it up. That Criterion's interesting. I would have watched more films from the collection, but I've got to wait till January maybe, since I don't want to waste money right now. That's fair. But in terms of what you might be wasting money on, I might as well mention it in here because, wow, this is an interesting list. February's Criterion collection. Have you managed to catch that list yet, AJ?
Yeah, the one that's the most random to me is Hollywood Shuffle.
Yeah.
I have a VHS of that, like, around here somewhere. It might still be in this room. And I just watched it one night, and I could sense there was, like, some ahead of its time commentary in it. But I would have never foreseen a Criterion release in its future. That surprised me.
The others being the Margaret Duras collection of India Song and Baxter, Vera Baxter. Dazed and Confused, Zeffirelli's Romeo and Juliet from the 60s, and the Three Colors trilogy. That's a good range. Especially considering, you know, in January we're getting that thing that's just got a bunch of sheep on it. Bryce is based on a top 12 list. I don't know which. If it's 12, it sounds like Watch Mojo. Which Santa Claus is the best? Mickey Rooney in Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Jeff Gillen in Christmas Story. Alec Baldwin in Rise of the Guardians. Jake Skellington in Nightmare Before Christmas. Art Carney in the Twilight Zone episode The Night of the Meek. Paul Giamatti in Fred Claus. Jim Broadbent in Arthur Christmas. I would also note Jim Broadbent in Get Santa. Coach Cutlip in the Wonder Years episode A Very Cutlip Christmas. Richard Attenborough in the Miracle on 34th Street remake. Edward Gwen in the original Miracle on 34th Street. David Huddleston in Santa Claus the Movie, or Douglas Seal in Ernest Saves Christmas.
Thank you for crediting Ernest. I appreciate that, Brian.
I have 3 things to say about that. Number one, I love that Jeff Gillen is there. Secondly, of those, I would probably pick Edmund Gwenn.
Yeah, you can't
And
go.
thirdly, my personal pick is not there.
There's somebody that I can think of immediately that's not there. It's been an inside joke with us for years. You know who's not on that list? Tim Allen.
I know it's probably a controversial opinion, probably for a number of reasons, actually. But yeah, my favorite movie Santa was always Tim Allen in the first movie.
Oh, heck yeah.
I'm trying to think. I guess I'd say the best that I want to just give the edge to Attenborough, because I think it was like tougher to do in a modern atmosphere.
Yeah, Miracle on 34th Street's hard to go against, but
Yeah. I do rate the original over the remake, but obviously the remake, you've obviously got more chance to sort of do fancier stuff with it. I'm also trying to think of
actually, where's Billy Bob?
well, yeah, because Jeff Gillen isn't actually Santa in A Christmas Story, right?
Nor is Jack Skellington.
Well, he takes over the role. I don't know.
No love for the guy that gives Kevin candy in Home Alone.
Oh damn, what's his name? He's in Armageddon too. I can't remember his name now. Because you quoted him the other day. I made popcorn before Thanksgiving, and you said, "Don't spoil your dinner." I assume you were doing that, guy.
I haven't answered the question yet, so I'm going to say of the ones not listed, Tim Allen from the Santa Claus, but that's because the Santa Claus is my favorite Christmas movie of all time. But out of the ones listed, Edmund Gwenn's good, but I feel like I like Richard Attenborough just a little bit more.
Yeah.
I've got an interesting one also from Spencer now. Thoughts on Luca Guadagnino's work so far?
I think I've only seen 3. Because, interestingly enough, I never caught his Suspiria.
You didn't.
That's still a blind spot to me. I Am Love looks really good, and I love Tilda Swinton, but I remember being bored out of my skull. I like Call Me By Your Name, but I don't love it, except Stuhlbarg. And I love A Bigger Splash. I think it needs to be seen by more people, and it's one of Ray Fiennes' best performances, and that's saying something.
You know what's funny about that, and it's weird, the timing, the way things work. I watched Call Me By Your Name in the same theater that I watched Bones and Owen. Exact same theater, exact same seats. Exact same showtime. I don't know how that happened, but it did.
First off, how do you remember what time
Tickets.
and in what theater you saw Call Me By Your Name 5 years ago?
You know this little fun, handy-dandy gimmick I've been doing since you've known me called Foursquare, which got moved into Swarm, which you basically check in everywhere you go. I basically have a paper trail of everywhere I've gone and the time that I entered the theaters.
I'm just intrigued. Luca's next project is going to be an American romantic sports comedy film with Zendaya, Mike Feist, and Josh O'Connor.
Or it's a tennis movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need more Mike Feist, so I'm down with this.
A tennis movie with a score by fucking Reznor and Ross.
Yep. Yeah, that sounds good. I'm
gonna need Mike Feist to be in at least 10 movies a year from now on. So
wow, that's intriguing. Yeah, I think Suspiria is a good adaptation. I wouldn't say it's better than the original, but it does a lot of sort of like the weird shit that I expect, and obviously with modern capabilities, you can go a lot weirder than you could have done, you know, in the 70s and 80s. Call Me By Your Name will now be forever tainted because of one man. You fool.
The man that could have been Batman.
Bigger Splash is really good. Yeah, I Am Love sort of like I appreciate the work that went into it, but I can't remember whether it goes anywhere.
Somebody, I can't remember what the wording was now, but somebody made a really concise joke connecting the fact that Guadagnino made Call Me By Your Name with Armie Hammer and also made Bones and All. But I can't remember what exactly the joke was.
Yeah, I cannot wait to talk to you after you've seen the movie.
I think this is, considering we're talking about movies, it just so happens to be one that is an awards contender, possibly. Josine says, I saw Bones and All Saturday, absolutely loved it. Gnarly and unsettling, but also sweet and tender. The perfect post-Thanksgiving meal. They need to put that on the poster then. People might go, Josephine.
It's got all the show times, but it's not doing anything for crowds.
Yeah, the one
really.
that's barely on at the cinemas, Knives Out, is the one that actually did well.
I watched that in a sold-out theater that they would have easily had to open up another theater if they would have had the guts to do. Actually, they did. They opened up a second theater at around that same time, which I've done personally myself at the theater before, so because people need to go see the movie. Because, oh, God forbid Netflix doesn't want to have a movie in a theater.
Yeah.
Hey, I got to see it theatrically. I don't care. That's all that matters. I got to see it in the theater.
I guess I might have to. I have to travel.
It's really good
to see it. That's all I'm saying.
It's really good. And I'll say right now, Ashley, without giving anything away, AJ, we've already had this conversation in a very lots of minor details. Oh my God, Mark Rylance. That's all I got to say. Okay. I literally saw him on the screen, and he kind of reminds me a bit of his character in Don't Look Up, where he's not really on the just the look of it, the way he's acting, because you can tell there's something wrong with him. Either he's not all there, and as the movie progresses, you find out that you may or may not be correct. And it's a really great supporting actor performance that I would love to see get nominated, but I don't think it's the year.
Josephine says,
but yeah, go watch it. Go watch it, please, if you get a chance. It needs the box office.
It's the 30th anniversary of The Crying Game, a film very ahead of its time. Neil Jordan originally entitled to call the movie The Soldier's Wife, but Stanley Kubrick recommended a title change because he believed the films with religious or military titles usually deterred audiences and were often financial failures.
We'll have plenty of time to talk about The Crying Game.
Yes, we will.
I promise.
I still don't know how it escaped a Fathom event this year.
That would have been cool.
Because I would have gone to that.
I'm purposely not happy with the East server again, so I'm quickly changing to Central and hope that will be stable. That's being suspiciously suspicious. In honor of the World Cup, favorite football/soccer movie?
Are we combining soccer and American football in this question, or just soccer?
Soccer.
There's not a lot of soccer movies.
I just got 3 words for you. Go Big Green.
I was thinking The Big Green too.
Ladybugs. Ladybugs is very underrated. I'll go with Ladybugs. One of Jonathan Brandis's last movies. Rodney Dangerfield's really funny in it. Jack A. Harris is really good in it. It's just a funny movie, and the concept's great. That so many movies have stolen in the like down the line, but this was one of the first ones to do that. Yeah, Ladybugs is definitely my answer.
I don't know that there's a soccer movie that I love. I've been meaning to rewatch Bend It Like Beckham for a while, but I still haven't yet.
Until I remembered my kids' movies. I remember watching when I was a kid that I watched constantly. Bend It Like Beckham would have been my answer. But yeah, Big Green because of Gutenberg and Ladybugs because of Dangerfield.
Before anybody else brings it up like it's an obvious answer, I wasn't into Shaolin soccer. Sorry.
That's fair. I know a lot of people do.
Honestly, I don't. I never really was into his movies, period, honestly. But, yeah. Maybe that's just me.
Next. And we are cutting off the chat now. Should have cut it off 2 minutes ago. I wanted to cut it off at 7, but that didn't work out because I was 15 minutes late. So 7:15 is when we cut it off. So Ashley lost the microphone. So we'll tell a story real quick. So Josie says on Friday I rewatched the Pink Panther in honor of the World Cup. It was great to watch again after not seeing it for so long. Pink Panther has an interesting connotation in me and AJ's life.
I assume she's talking about Sellers. Just to put that out there.
No.
What?
Nope.
So you what?
You said what the same way that Lloyd says what whenever Harry says he's gonna kill him.
No, we're not talking about Sellers.
We're talking about the Danny
We're
Boyle
talking about someone I'm going to get to see live in a couple months.
Are we talking about the Danny Boyle documentary?
We're talking about the 2006 movie that literally killed AJ in the theater.
It was
I know,
sequel.
but it's still hilarious.
Why? First of all, I've done nothing but praise Steve Martin on this channel.
True.
Let's make that clear.
Can't wait to see him live in a couple months.
I don't know how much time I spent. I spent more time talking about him in my Little Shop of Horrors video than the amount of time he's in Little Shop of Horrors. But I have no idea why somebody would. And Josie, I have so much respect for you. I really do. But I have no idea, especially when the Sellers movie is an option, I have no idea why somebody would choose to watch Steve Martin's Pink Panther movies. Like, intentionally. Like maybe if you're like it happens to already be on TV and you just don't want to change it because you don't have the energy and you have no choice but to just sit there with it, is the only way I can imagine ever seeing those movies again. And by the way, Kevin Kline is in that as well. Somebody else I hold in nothing but high regard.
Yep.
Though, okay, to be fair, and to give Josie credit, what may be happening here is that the sequel to Steve Martin's Pink Panther is so bad, I'm kind of lumping its quality in with the first movie. And Steve Martin's first movie actually isn't that bad.
No.
But that second movie he did was the Antichrist. And I think
and it literally killed AJ because I come back from I don't know if I went to go fix a problem with the projector because that was usual, or I went to get like a drink skier or something like that. I come back in the theater, AJ is standing up, looking at me and saying, "Hi, I'm AJ. I'm dead."
Yes, I was my own ghost, and I greeted you.
Yes, you
I
greeted
believe
me.
that was either right before or right after the Jeremy Irons cameo. And you would think a Jeremy Irons cameo would improve a movie. Not always, it turns out. Plot twist.
Oh my god.
The way you talk about this movie, AJ, I expect it to have like a ring effect on you when you watch it.
That's my
like Peter Griffin watching Mannequin.
Not going to television show with this much embarrassment. Now you know what I mean when I say that.
Oh,
I probably
yeah, that's about right though.
I probably have to say the Diego Maradona documentary for me, which, you know, as an English person I should hate because of 1986 and everything, but it's a very well put together documentary, and it sort of makes you realise like what pressure he was actually under. That's probably why it led him to all the drugs and all the crazy shit that happened in his life. However, I want to give a shout out to a film that I haven't caught yet because I sort of feel like I don't want to. United Passions, the film that was 90% funded by FIFA, about FIFA, which coincided with all the corruption case, of which Tim Roth shows up in the film as Sepp Blatter at the same time as all the scandals with Sepp Blatter was going on. Which is fucking brilliant. All because
Yeah,
it's stupid.
Tim Roth was asked about this in an interview, and he blatantly said all that just went into his kid's college fund, and that's the only reason he's in that movie.
Gerard Depardieu was Jules Rimet. You know, Sam Neill was Haviland, who was the president before Sepp Blatter. Like, dear Lord, it's basically just there's better documentaries on FIFA that are sort of like not as glorifying than whatever the hell that mess was. Had a budget of like 30 million and it made about 160,000 in the box office. I don't think it's ever like got released or anything.
Next.
Friday night I also rewatched Twilight. Josephine says fun neo-noir. Paul Newman fantastic. Sarandon was a great femme fatale. It was also interesting seeing the young Reese Witherspoon appearance as well.
Yeah, I brought that up a little bit ago, so it's a nice little tie-in to what we talked about earlier.
Thoughts on 1990s Avalon?
Oh my god. My god, my memory of it is so vague. I feel like that's Levinson, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Which ties into our next question.
I feel like I connected more with his Liberty Heights than I did Avalon. Because I feel like half his movies are autobiographical.
Well, considering, you know, they're basically semi-autobiographical. The what is it? The Baltimore tetralogy is all semi-autobiographical. Autobiographical, if I can say it properly. So yeah, Diner in '82, Tin Men '87, Avalon in 1990, and then Liberty Heights sort of rounding it off from '99.
I mean, I remember it's basically his The Fabelmans, isn't it? Pretty much.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah, it's like I remember it in theory, but any details about it are gone in my memory. I'm sure it's very good, and I will revisit it because I will make a mental note to do that.
A little bit of trivia. Krasinski, the name of the family, is the maiden name of Barry's mother. And the third, yeah, Josephine mentions there how it was the third of the Baltimore tetralogy. And then, yeah, favorite Barry Levinson film underneath that. Oh,
It's the most obvious answer, but for me, it's got to be Rain Man, honestly. But I love Bandits. Bandits is very underrated, and it's one of Billy Bob Thornton's best performances. Once again, a bar that's already very high.
I think Sleepers is a bit underrated as well.
Yeah.
At the same time as like everything was just John Grisham adaptations, and it was one that wasn't. also rated his young Sherlock Holmes as well. That was a pretty good, the best case scenario. Chris Columbus was only writing.
Chris still here?
Hmm?
I was seeing
Yeah,
Chris.
I was going through a list of his movies. For me, it's either Rain Man or Bugsy.
We're not trying to throw shade on Good Morning Vietnam because that's pretty good as well.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many good ones.
I'd forgotten that he did Good Morning Vietnam, so I'm changing my answer to that.
Okay.
I mean, I've liked so many of his movies. Like, Rain Man's a definite correct answer, but I mean, there's some nice little like gem skis in here that most people don't think about. Like, I like some of these like throwaway movies that did nothing in the box office. Like, I liked Man of the Year and Jimmy Hollywood.
Ugh.
They're not my favorites, but I like them because they're fun movies that I just don't have to think about. I really wish I would have been able to get more into Wag the Dog. I feel like it's something that's right up my alley because it knocks all the boxes. But I definitely want to see it again. Toys, I've always liked growing up. Toys was an entertaining movie for me. But yeah, when AJ showed me Rain Man for the first time, yeah, 100%. Such a great film.
Yeah, I actually had an epiphany recently where there was a movie that I'd always thought was somebody else's that's actually his.
Yeah.
I really, as many people do, I really love The Natural.
Yeah. Same.
But for some reason, somewhere over time, I managed to convince myself that The Natural was a George Roy Hill movie. And it was actually pretty recently I was reminded it's actually 11 Sons. I don't know where that came from.
Did Robert Redford throw you off?
That's got to be it. That's the only thing I can think of.
And of course, he also developed and was in God knows how many episodes, either directing or producing or writing Homicide: Life on the Streets, which was a great series over the mid to late 90s. Spencer's asked the almighty question, AJ. Have you watched The English yet?
I'm still savoring it. It's going to be probably in the first area of December, probably like within the first week of December. Once all the other catch up has happened.
Josephine asks, if you were going to have your own personalized movie or TV themed Christmas ornament, what would it be? I would have a One Piece ornament, specifically one of Chopper, the reindeer character with the blue nose. I mean, considering how it became like a Christmas tradition over here, and apparently will again in 2023 or 2024, I can't remember. Anything Wallace and Gromit themed would be perfect.
I want an ornament of Danny DeVito's penguin covered in black goo.
Oh.
That's
And you press a button, and the only thing he says is, "Oh shit, I picked a cute one."
Yes. No, it has two. You could do that, or you press it again, and he just goes, "Argh!" And that's it.
Can I get a little like combo quick stop RST video with a little mini Jay and Silent Bob right in front of it?
With the bobbing heads as well. You know, as if it's like.
Yeah, I was sticking to Christmas, so I was leaning towards something related to Darren McGavin in A Christmas Story. I just wasn't sure which moment because there's so many options.
He needs one that you push a button and he goes, "Not a finger."
That's the first thing that came to my mind.
Josephine did ask AJ whether you'd want one of the Top Gun plane.
Yes. Probably the one they steal.
Nice.
because it would have both of them in it.
AJ, I know what ornament I would get for you. You would have an ornament of fried Christopher Walken.
No, I wouldn't.
I imagine this scenario, AJ, where I give it to you for Christmas in a box, and you react the same way Chubbs does to the gator head in the box.
That is exactly what would happen.
Luckily, you live on the ground, so it wouldn't be that big of a jump when you go out the window. I've taught you well.
But when you do, when you do fall out in the yard, though, I have to have Lee Trevino shaking his head like he didn't know what happened.
Oh, is it? Now we get to a nice tough one. Josephine asks favorite Ed Harris performance.
Selling oranges outside the road in California. I've been waiting for years to be able to actually say this on the network, and I've just got carte blanche to say exactly that. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not even gonna give it. There's no need to. It just needs to live like that.
The one that I quote the most often is Carl Fogarty in A History of Violence.
Joey.
I say this with no jokes whatsoever. Okay. He's really good in The Rock.
Yeah.
No, I actually have an answer to this. I have a legitimate answer to this.
The Truman Show?
That's exactly the correct answer. He's pissed off.
That's where I was headed to, I think.
But yeah, like did a really good job in Glengarry Glen Ross. Stuff.
He's also really good in The Lost Daughter because he's the only person in the movie that's not a piece of shit.
It was one of the times in a movie that I didn't really like. I was more like inclined to like his character in The Lost Daughter. I 100% see what AJ is talking about when he says that.
And of course,
I mean, Apollo 13 is a great one too.
He was the original. From what I remember from the characters, he was the original Sean Bean in the film adaptation of Snowpiercer.
Yep, that's correct.
I would also put Ed Harris's dancing and creep show up there with Crispin Glover's from Friday the 13th.
Yeah, his dancing and his death cry. Fantastic. Fantastic dorkiness.
I'm trying to see if there's anything like. I'm surprised.
All of his Oscar nominations are solid and earned.
I'm surprised he hasn't done more like TV movies.
Telling you, he's got to sell his oranges. It takes more time.
Owen got a lot of mileage out of making fun of this movie, but I really liked Appaloosa.
Oh my god, I got a ton of ammunition about that movie.
That was you built it up for a long time roasting it to me. When we actually went and saw it, I really dug it.
That makes me think that somewhere in a different world I need to watch Bloodwork and The Core again.
Bloodwork, yes. The Core, you don't need to. I'm sure you got it the first time.
No, that was the point. No one got The Core.
Which actor or filmmaker would you like to see host a cooking show?
What?
Say that again?
Which actor or filmmaker would you like to see host a cookery show?
Kevin Smith. He already does that stuff right now. He's like, do it because he became vegan, so I feel like it would be a really successful show, especially with the way things are nowadays.
Well, my obvious answer would be after Blunt seemingly shook the world with those potatoes of hers on that one show. I'd love to see what else she can do.
It's a shame the world has been taken away from Bruce Willis chicken.
Yeah.
Just from
someday.
Just from whichever James Bond documentary it was. Cubby Broccoli, like single-handedly, like going to the place, getting the food because catering had fucked up, and like literally cooking up the food himself. He seems like such like
I'm gonna
a
go.
food passionate guy that he'd be just like all these chefs that are like really too much into their food.
I'm gonna go with somebody that has no connection to food and just say J.K. Simmons. Well, I mean, he was Garth Pancake.
Is this normal J.K. Simmons, or is he like in the spirit of Terrence Fletcher?
Oh man, he could do both. That could be the hook of the show.
Ooh.
He could be like Farmers Insurance J.K. Simmons, who's very informative and supportive and helpful. And then he could be Terrence Fletcher J.K. Simmons, where you leave wanting to take your knife and stick it in your temple.
Josephine asks, favorite mountain scene in a movie.
Next.
I had favorite mountain scene in a movie.
Can we say alive in its entirety?
That's fair.
I'm really struggling to think of mountain scenes.
Brokeback.
Oh yeah.
Not just because of the name, but Brokeback in general.
I like the
Stealth.
the montage leading up to Mississippi in Django.
Oh yeah.
Had a lot of like mountain backgrounds.
AJ, you missed my joke. That's okay. I said stealth.
Oh. You're talking about Jamie Foxx's death scene.
Yes. Yeah, I knew you were the only one that was going to get that, so I'm totally good with that.
So we both went the Jamie Foxx route. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Batman Begins has some good ones, bringing back a movie we talked about earlier.
Oh yeah.
The Lord
Yeah, it's like the whole opening montage. How did I forget?
The Thing.
The Lord of the Rings trilogy. There's mountains aplenty and scenes involving the mountain ranges and everything. I mean, Mount Doom.
That was actually Lord of the Rings was the first place my mind went to.
Yeah. I guess.
I'm sitting here. I've been sitting here for like the last 30 seconds trying to think of a bushwhacked joke to make. And you're like, oh, by the way, Lord of the Rings.
Excuse me, attractive lady. Can you move aside so I can play pinball?
Best hiding scene in a film, like when a character's hiding somebody.
Cape Fear.
That's a good one. I saw a really cool movie recently that was, oh God, from Hong Kong, called Hex. It's basically like a loose horror remake of Diabolique.
Oh, interesting.
And there is a scene towards the end where a guy is being chased and he hides. And while he's hiding, the sound goes out completely. And then he throws a turtle shell to distract the guy and get him to go the other direction. And when that turtle shell hits the ground is when the sound comes back on. That's a really cool scene.
AJ, I'm surprised you didn't just say A Quiet Place in its entirety.
Yeah, I was gonna say A Quiet Place in its entirety and The Diary of Anne Frank in its entirety.
Oh yeah.
Before people think I'm like making a tasteless joke, no, The Diary of Anne Frank is an amazing movie. I love it. And those scenes are so fucking tense.
I would have to say the opening scene of Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a great one.
There's a lot of great hiding scenes.
The opening of Sicario. Because I would have
Is that
never thought hide the bodies in the walls. That was like such a sort of like graphic thing.
I would say this counts. For some reason, one that just jumped in my head randomly was the cornfield scene in Joyride. That's really tense.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could always just cop out and go with any of like slashers, like where people are hiding and you know that they're going to get caught eventually, but the tension is just rising and rising and rising.
Yeah, some of those are really good, and some of them are way dragged out. The climax, I love the movie, but the climax to the original Friday the 13th is way too long.
Even though the movie, as everyone that's been watching this channel for years knows, would be Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Because everybody just hiding from Leatherface, like the random times it happened. Like it's happened so many times, it's like you're gonna get caught one of these days, and it's gonna get real bad for you.
What interesting question. What are some movie doctor cliches that you are tired of?
Odd.
I'm trying to work out what that question means. Like,
That is an odd
You know,
question.
the first thing that came to mind for me was rectal examinations in comedies.
Playing every doctor scene for comedy when it doesn't necessarily have to be.
Oh god. Fucking birth scenes in comedies are
That's fair.
worst. They're the fucking worst. I think the only one I don't mind is the first look who's talking.
One, and this is where I get to praise Living for the first time. Where they don't actually say that what's wrong, it's just left ambiguous, and then for the actual characters to say it rather than the doctor to state the diagnosis. It's because in Living, the doctor doesn't say it's cancer. You find that out, through the story and whatever. Which I don't think is too much spoilers, because I think it's pretty much sort of established anyway in the sort of stuff. But yeah, obviously when it's like, it's the telenovela style. It's cancer. Da 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 da. Like,
I was only just now getting ready to say, my brother sent me a message, he'll be right back, and then you just appeared again. That was fast.
Ooh. Josephine asks, favorite fake superhero for a movie or TV show. For instance, Mermaid Man and SpongeBob, and Barnacle Boy, and obviously Crimson Chin was in Fairly Odd Parents.
Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy is a really great starting point.
Can I go with Really, Really Big Man from Rocko's Modern Life?
Yes, you can.
Also, Powdered Toast Man has to be up there too.
Yes, I was sitting here going like, I know there's two superheroes in that era. I couldn't remember who the other one was right away. Because it's weird that was a thing at the time, that both those shows had superheroes for some reason.
I'm surprised Owen hasn't said Blunt Man and Chronic.
That's definitely my answer. I just didn't know if there was the only other thing I would consider a superhero isn't technically a superhero. He's more of a stuntman. And I have to give credit to Bob Einstein and Super Dave Osborne. Not a superhero, so yes, it's Blunt Man and Chronic.
Matt Damon in the only good bit of For the Dark World. I think it was that one, wasn't it? Where they had the sort of like the play version of like.
It was Ragnarok.
Oh, was it Ragnarok?
Ragnarok, and then they did it again in Love and Thunder because
We got to pad it out, even though we're having to crop it by 4 hours. Favorite Paul Newman performance.
For me, it's Cool and Luke, but I acknowledge that there's a billion options that are all accurate.
I'm gonna go Cool Hand Luke, and I'm gonna follow it up with Road to Perdition.
Yes.
Butch Cassidy.
Yes.
Especially seeing it on the big screen. That made me even like it even more and respect it even more. Thank you, AJ.
He might be
the verdict.
He might be the only reason I like Cars. Just that gravitas of his voice, because I don't see what the purpose of Cars is. And that's even before we get to the stupid shit of Cars 2 and which he wasn't
Cars
in, and then obviously they purposely used like archive stuff for Cars 3 and whatever. But
Ashley, the purpose of the Cars franchise is so Disney's California Adventure could get Cars Land, and it is an incredible area you need to check out. Other than that, there is no purpose for Cars.
No, the only other purpose is to have Lightning McQueen and Lego The Incredibles on PS4. That's about it.
Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy, one of the most underrated attractions at Hollywood Studios. Don't at me.
Also,
let us also remember. Let us also remember that Paul Newman is the basis for one of the greatest movie taglines of all time. Anybody know?
Nope.
I mean, I'm hoping it's something to do with Slapshot.
The tagline for, I don't know if it's actually on the case or not. It was on like the old posters.
I can confirm it. I have Wiki in front of me.
No, it is not on this case, but apparently the original tagline for Ombre
Oh, God.
was Ombre means man, Paul Newman is Ombre.
Yeah, it does. It totally says that. Hold on, I gotta see if I can.
AJ, with everything that he's been in, do you find his Color of Money win weird?
I get it as far as a career win perspective, especially since he was so good in The Hustler and nominated for The Hustler. But yeah, because it's just like it's not one of the last movies you think about with him, but it's pretty low on the list, right? It's a really, really good movie, but yeah, it's definitely not the first Paul Newman movie I think of by far. Like probably not even top 10.
Yeah.
I feel like it's also not really.
You know?
I also feel like it's also a movie that doesn't come very often whenever you're listing Tom Cruise's movies either.
Or Scorsese's movies.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a really good movie. It's interesting how like it's got such titans involved in it. It's like such a lower thing on all of their filmographies. I feel like all of my Paul Newman movies are like within reach.
Nice.
Favorite Miranda Richardson performance? This is where I just say Blackadder 2, right?
She's great in Damage. Damage is usually the first thing that comes to mind.
I'm trying to think. What was the other one in the last few years that she was in that I can't remember? Ugh. To the filmography. She was in the last.
I haven't seen many of her movies, but she's memorable in Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah. Especially after the reveal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's Rita Skeeter.
Yeah.
Trying to remember.
Wrote you the Crying Game.
Oh,
I think that might be where
Cronenberg's
this conversation
Spider
went.
as well. And of course, the voice of Mrs. Tweedy in Chicken Run. That was really good.
We need to pick
Yeah,
up.
it's for me. It's either Damage or the Crying Game. Which were those the same year? I think they might have been.
Take a shot.
Yeah, both for 92.
Damn, that's a damn good year for her, especially.
She both won and was nominated in the BAFTAs for supporting actress for those two films. But it was only Damage that actually got the Oscar nomination. One that often comes up every couple of months. What type of movie do you want to see Tarantino do most? Although I think specifically Josephine's asking, do you want to see a Quentin pirate movie, a Quentin witch movie, or a Quentin espionage adventure?
Ooh, that witch movie sounds good. I mean, espionage adventure sounds fun. Sure.
Espionage adventure just sounds like he'd do an equivalent of in Flint or something like that. You know, light-hearted but with action sort of thing.
Of course, I think I've said this before. That's just the brilliant thing about him, and why I find him so exciting is you can talk about hypothetical scenarios of him making movies, but even if you try to imagine it, you never truly know what a Tarantino movie really looks like until it already exists.
I love the fact
like I
that
said, building up to all of his movies that I was there to build up for never looked how I imagined them. They're always significantly better, but they never look like how I imagined them.
I love the fact that there is a list on Wikipedia which is this is the following list of unproduced Tarantino projects. And it's like, you know, God knows everything. Not just the ones that you know about, you know, like Star Trek and all that, but like Grindhouse 2, what he would have done with True Romance and Natural Born Killers if he was directing. All that stuff.
So the correct answer is which movie? 100%. And I'll say it right now. The house I was in this year at Horror Nights, Spirits of the Coven, the concept was basically the 1920s speakeasy that is not really on the up and up. So as you progress through the house, you're seeing the beautiful girls getting a lot more witch-tastic. And by the end, you find out that Soylent Green is people. So yeah, basically, I want to see Tarantino do that.
Yeah.
And Tim Roth in my role as the piano player. Let's go.
And we ignored it, but yes, I'm sure he'd make a kick-ass pirate movie as well.
Oh God, yes. I'd love to see Tarantino do a pirate movie. He can do a movie about film pirates. I'd go watch it. And you could too.
It'd just be like the scene from Phone Jacker with like the Asian people burning all the discs and whatever for the pirated DVDs.
Thoughts on that?
Free movie for $2.
Thoughts on Atlantis, The Lost Empire? Yeah. I think it'd be a great thing to watch before Avatar: The Way of Water.
That whole area with like that and Treasure Planet and stuff. All these movies that have gotten like a, because now that the people that saw them as kids are older and they're like bringing them forward after they kind of went off the map. That was past me, I think. We kind of talked about this. Me and my brother kind of talked about this when we did our Emperor's New Groove video, where Emperor's New Groove was kind of the start of when I wasn't seeing animated movies regularly as they came out. So there's some stuff that didn't really, I saw later in life, so they didn't really stick with me the way they did. But other people that were there when they were out. So yeah, stuff like Atlantis and Treasure Planet and stuff like that never really stuck with me very much.
I remember growing up, I wasn't as big of a mark for Hercules and Hunchback as most of my friends were.
Yeah, if it wasn't for James Woods, I feel like Hercules would be entirely forgettable. Honestly,
the music is always what brings me back to both of those.
Yeah,
Some really memorable Disney music.
Yeah, Atlantis, I think, is the like underrated one from the 90s, 2000s that more people should see.
Brother, I know you're a big fan of The Emperor's New Groove. Did you ever venture into Atlantis or Treasure Planet or any of those?
I did not. I've only seen those pretty much in clips.
I had a little Milo action figure from Atlantis.
Mm-hmm.
And for the longest time, that's all I associated with it. Because I hadn't seen it.
I'll probably eventually get around to it because I was kind of flirting with the idea of, while I was working, rewatching back all of the Disney animated movies, starting at the beginning and working my way forward.
A lot of people are doing that nowadays.
That'd be fun.
Mm-hmm.
What would you want your avatar body to look like? Papa Smurf, just to really confuse everyone. That's all I think of as the Avatar movie. It's the the fucking genetically modified Smurfs.
Yeah, so would you be the size of Papa Smurf, or would it be like a giant Papa Smurf?
Yes.
It'd be Hagrid Papa Smurf. Yeah.
Oh, dear Lord.
That's amazing. I definitely want to see that.
Like Hagrid size Papa Smurf.
No, I definitely want to see that now.
You're a Narvi now, Kate Winslet. You're a Narvi.
I don't even have an answer to that question. That's just all I want now is Hagrid size Papa Smurf.
We don't have answers to the question.
Yeah.
Are we talking about a James
wants an avatar body because it's stupid.
Well, based on the world that it's in, I would want something on the side of it's going to be a body type that's going to help me survive.
I mean, if you're going to
which unfortunately I don't think Papa Smurf fits that criteria.
I'm just going to cut out the middleman and say Dwayne.
Yeah, that's who actually was the first person I thought of was Dwayne.
But
stay off the Zoa. That stuff's trash. You need better energy drinks.
Are we talking like current Dwayne, or maybe like Scorpion King Dwayne, or Be Cool Dwayne?
I think how he's ready to just beat down anybody that comes near, but he's the nicest guy in the world.
I would say Rundown Dwayne would be about right.
Doom Dwayne.
I'll say
current Dwayne's a little much.
I'll do Fast Five Dwayne.
That's good. Well, that's probably about right.
Pain and Gain Dwayne.
Pain and Gain Dwayne is fucking freakish.
I think that would be the correct answer then.
He looked. I mean, I know his character's psychotic, so it helps. But he's fucking scary looking in Pain and Gain.
just to be able to take on the giant mechs that the humans will bring, some sort of body that will actually become like a giant, like Voltron style Power Ranger
Going back
style
to
Megazord.
Going back to Ashley's answer, if Ashley's going to have a Papa Smurf avatar, I need the spirit of Stephen Lang in a Gargamel mechanical thing,
Do we know what
complete with his side
is
cap.
Kate Winslet human or Na'vi? Do we know? Because if she's
Every
the
time
bad,
I hear that trailer, I leave.
if she's the baddie in it, alongside him, does that make her the cat? Alongside
I was gonna say Giovanni Ribisi's the cat.
Yeah.
Oh man, Giovanni Ribisi would make such an obnoxious cat.
Oh, Bry's lucky as well. Speaking of Regal, my local Regal is playing Del Toro's Pinocchio.
Oh, that means that's probably where I'll end up seeing it then.
Everybody has such a better Regal. Ours doesn't give a shit.
No, they don't. This guy knows.
We'll get every fucking state-based Fathom event in history, but we can't get a week of Knives Out or Glass Onion or fucking Pinocchio or anything.
Fablemans.
Yeah.
Not necessarily movie related. Would you have a bed shaped like a boat, a car, or a plane, or a rocket ship?
Can I go with the Bat plane from Batman '89?
Probably.
Yeah.
Or the '89 Batmobile. That'll work too.
I'm gonna go with the Batmobile, but I'm gonna go to the right one, the '66 Batmobile.
That would be option 2 for me.
That's always the correct answer when it comes to Batman for me. Oh,
I would take Cameron Fry's dad's Ferrari post crash.
I was hoping you would say post crash. Ecto or
Because that's
Ecto one.
basically
The DeLorean would also be an option. Not Ecto 1. Hearses freak me out. It could never be Ecto 1.
Bobby P's limo in Cosmopolis because it's so ginormous.
No, the limo from Die Hard.
Does it come with the giant bear?
Yeah, exactly. That's why.
I want the limo from No Holds Barred so I can have a sunroof.
Won't they all have a sunroof?
This one has Hulk Hogan jumping out of it.
Because of my height and everything, I need something that isn't if I get a standard single bed, my feet just fall off the edge of the bed. So having like a limo style thing with like an extra long mattress would be fucking brilliant.
It's like that episode where about Milhouse's dad was talking about, I sleep in a race car. Where do you sleep? I sleep in a nice warm bed with my wife.
Favorite mouth-to-mouth.
He's like, oh.
Favorite mouth-to-mouth CPR film in a movie? Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, that's such a great one. That's not the direction to go, though.
I don't think they ever did mouth to mouth.
Well,
No,
it's
they
still CPR, isn't it? Because
I don't even think they tried that. They just went straight for the adrenaline shot.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Sean William Scott, Will Ferrell, and Old School.
God.
Oh
Yeah.
my god! The scene is like kind of funny. It's when he kicks him back into the pool where I lose.
The Sandlot.
Yep, I was gonna go the Sandlot. Yeah.
Oh,
I think what does it for me for old school isn't necessarily the mouth-to-mouth scene itself. It's the build-up of Frank going into the pool and everything that happens leading up to it.
Yeah. By the way, I've got the ultimate answer for that. Matt Dillon and the dog, and there's something about Mary.
Oh, that's a fair one.
Buy one, rent one, lose one is here from Josephine. I'm trying to exactly know what the theme is because
I don't get the theme either because it doesn't make none of it makes any sense.
yeah, we have Ratatouille. My dog.
Hang on a second. I'm preparing for this. I have a pen ready now because I always have to have you read everything again.
Ratatouille. My Dog Skip. Gremlins 1. Gremlins 2. The animated 101 Dalmatians. The live action 101 Dalmatians. 102 Dalmatians. I'm guessing the animated Lady and the Tramp, not that Disney Plus shit. Beethoven. Frankenweenie. 8 Below. And Isle of Dogs.
Are they all? Oh no, they're not all dog
I
movies.
don't remember dogs being prominently in the Gremlins thing.
I remember Dogs and Ratatouille.
Gremlins 1, the dog gets hung up at the Christmas lights, but I don't think there's really a dog thing going on in Gremlins 2.
I guess maybe pets.
I'm so cold.
Don't forget, he gets caught up in the Christmas lights, and he's being terrorized by Mrs. Deagle the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, very easy. The very, very top is the animated 101 Dalmatians.
I think out of the ones listed, my very top is Gremlins 2.
Ratatouille.
102 Dalmatians is getting the axe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go with that. This is actually the first time that I've seen most of the movies listed. The only ones I haven't seen all the way through are My Dog Skip and 102 Dalmatians.
What's interesting is I probably haven't seen My Dog Skip since I was like 12, but that whole movie is such a vivid memory to me. I could probably tell you nearly every scene in it, and I probably haven't seen it in fucking 20 years.
I'd buy Isle of Dogs and rent Gremlins too, just for Christopher Lee's bit.
Yeah, I might have to. I really love My Dog Skip, and I feel comfortable saying that without even rewatching it. I love Lady and the Tramp also. It gives me a nice warm feeling, but I might say Gremlins 2 for my second one.
Ooh.
It's John Glover, isn't it?
He's part of it, yes.
Interesting. I think this is Mystery Man themed. If I can get the thing.
Pet movies. Thank you, Josie.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I see. No. So, who would win in a fight? Captain Amazing from Mystery Man or Turbo Man from Jingle All the Way?
Well, Turbo Man defeated his villain.
Yeah, Turbo Man also has a lot of weapons. I don't think does Captain Amazing only just like throw people?
Yeah, but
Dude, all he cares about is his sponsors.
Yeah, most of his stuff is like staged, isn't it? Or borderline staged.
I mean, he had to catch everybody to begin with, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think he just got cocky.
I'll save Spencer's couple of awards themed things for Tuesday. I'll try and make a note of them because chat should, archive itself properly. Josephine says, I want an Encino Man reunion at the Oscars with Frasier, Pauly Shore, and Ke Huy Quan.
hell, make it happen.
Is Sean Astin not allowed?
He's got some sort of a convention to be at. That's all he does anymore is conventions.
I'd love to see a cannibal sip and snack with Chalamet and Russell from Bones and All, or Danny McBride's character from This Is the End.
God.
Oh God.
So here's this man we just ran over.
God.
There's some crazy... I don't know whether he's still around, but there was some crazy fuck that if they saw, like, roadkill, they would get it and put it in their freezer.
Oh, good, we're done.
Uh-oh. Josephine's got the movie pitch. So it's a pirate movie that's got a feature. You might have to get your list here again. AJ. Keith David, Delroy Lindo, Brian Tyree Henry, Ram Charan from RRR, Paul Dano, and Zoe Kazan. Do they have to be a couple? And
Yes, always.
And Julia Butters.
Oh, I'm going to keep them together because it's me, and I don't need to say anything further. But I think Zoe Kazan's awesome as the lead, and I think Dano is going to be kind of like the supporting in the circumstance, kind of like she's the one that's in charge of all the plans, and he's the one that thinks he's in charge. So they have a very dysfunctional relationship that leads to everything going up in smoke. It causes them to crash into an island, and then they get shipwrecked, and that's when Keith David comes out and shows as they live, gets it on, and we're good to go.
I was thinking make Keith David the lead, just because he's the least likely of these to be a lead. I don't know what the story would be, but that's where I would start.
What's the girl's name again?
Julia Butters. She is the little girl in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
How old is she now?
30?
What, like? Yeah, she's playing 8 in the movie in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but I think she might have been a tad older or younger. What I just said is completely unhelpful.
Is she old enough to be with Paul Dano?
No.
Okay.
She's still basically a child.
Okay.
Definitely no.
Well, I would have Keith David be like a pirate captain. I would have her be his daughter. I would have Paul Dano kind of look out for her because Keith David's kind of neglectful because he's busy pirating shit. And I would have Delroy Lindo kind of be like the head of the Navy looking for him.
Huh.
And it would be a story about like her trying to reconnect with her father through Paul Dano trying to break through on her behalf, because this would take place in the 1700s and nobody really gives a shit what the daughter says because it's 1700s.
I'd like to sort of have it Captain Phillips style, that it's modern terrorism. Just with the people sort of like the equivalent, I guess, of Triangle of Sadness, but instead of like ineptitude causing the boat to run adrift, it's terrorists. Maybe not like, but in that style, like not have any of the people play terrorists, have like other actors playing the terrorists. There should seriously be regulations of how many showings of blockbusters that theatres are allowed to give. Well, don't worry. Bloody James Cameron's helping you there, because when the film is 3.25 hours, you ain't going to get many screenings in a day. Although it didn't stop 22 screenings of Black Panther a few weeks back. So I'm just fearing, because like nothing else is coming out over Christmas or in the week before Christmas, eventually it will get to a point where the only film showing that day will be Avatar. And then thankfully, because of the Whitney Houston biopic that will get a lot of people in, including probably women that they want to get in because that market isn't usually catered to too much. That might get them in. Bry is already throwing shade on your book, AJ. We're gonna see a 10 to 20 page essay on why Pulp Fiction is your favorite movie ever.
I'm hoping there'll be no more than 10 pages
Yeah.
each. And yeah, there is going to be a lot of Tarantino in it. There'll be a Pulp Fiction one, there'll be a Bastards one, there'll be a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood one.
Holiday Affair has become a holiday comfort for me, says Josephine. Oh, Josephine also asks for you, AJ, have you ever seen The Bishop's Wife or its remake, The Preacher's Wife?
I did actually, it wasn't that long ago I saw The Preacher's Wife for the first time. I saw The Bishop's Wife a very long time ago. But I haven't revisited it. I actually only just got it maybe a couple of years ago, like bought it a couple of years ago, and I with every intention to rewatch it, and I didn't because I watched The Bishop's Wife back in the Hollywood video days, which are basically another lifetime at this point.
Also, have you ever seen It Happened on Fifth Avenue?
Yes, I have a 4-pack of movies. I think it's the 4-pack that has Holiday Affair in it. I wonder if if this is something Josie's aware of, and or this is coincidental.
Bry asks you, Owen, have you seen the Defunctland documentary on the Disney Channel theme?
Oh God, yes, it's brilliant. I have been a mark for Defunctland since day one, and you also mentioned the one about Fast Pass, which is fantastic too. Like he knows what he's talking about, and honestly, Kevin Perjurer is somebody that I believe him pretty much above most when it comes to these so-called historians, except for my good friend Lynn Testa. Shout out. The thing is, at the end of the day, I will say that it's solid. If you have the time to devote, and it's a long chunk of time, watch them, especially if you have any interest in theme parks whatsoever. Even if you don't, it's very interesting and very entertaining, and it's good background noise, honestly, because you don't necessarily have to watch it in order to get it. So, I mean, I just put it on in the background sometimes, just like as Dave Attell once said, time travel. So, needless to say, I've watched it many times, actually. They're both great, and I love all of the things he's done. Now, he's got some things wrong when it comes to, like, when he goes out of the Disney bubble, when he goes into, like, other theme parks, like, some of the Universal stuff was a little bit not correct, and when he's talking about Green Lantern at Six Flags Magic Mountain, it wasn't necessarily as, like, to a T as everything else has been. But I mean, I won't fault him for it because it's not really his bag when it comes to that. He's more of like a Disney guy, and he's very, very thorough when it comes to his analysis on everything. And if you want to know, it's Defunctland on YouTube, 100%. Definitely, I could not recommend it enough.
A lot of great stuff on there, to be fair.
God, yes, not just theme park stuff either. There's television stuff that's really good. He's focusing on TV stuff. Like Defunct TV is really solid. So there's like a lot of really good stuff on there.
And I'll quickly grab my dinner. Speaking of Bob Iger is back because he did such a shit job of hiring his replacement.
Yeah, my Twitter, for those that are still on it, my Twitter went nuts for Death to Chapek. Him being fired like we all wanted him to be. Once again, Iger's a Band-Aid. He's going to try, but I don't think he's going to necessarily try to make the impact that everybody wants him to make. He's going to make little things that are going to make things better in the short term. In the long run, he doesn't have much time. He doesn't have a very long shelf life being in charge. And it's already been said that he's got a very short authoritative position when it comes to years. He doesn't have like 5-6 years to try to reshape the Walt Disney Company. So should be interesting to see where we go from there. And Disney's been kicked in the nuts a little bit lately, and they've had to like eat some crow, and it's gonna be nice to see how they bounce back from this. Kind of like when Vince McMahon, just like I always talk about this, when Vince McMahon left WWE and Triple H took over, it's like everything is like slowly but surely kind of popping back in. People are coming back into the fold, things like that. Things are becoming watchable again. I haven't watched it because I'm an AEW guy. That's right. Claimed every Wednesday. Still, the thing is, at the end of the day, though, just because someone comes in, they're not going to create miracles overnight. I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar company that's made a lot of mistakes, and it's going to be interesting to see where we go. I'm curious now, honestly, to see what Iger does in the meantime. But if you think he's going to save the company, you're crazy. I mean, I wanted Michael Eisner to come back more than anything else. That's who I wanted to come back.
The thing I don't get with the Disney stuff is, like,
And then
everything.
this is go home, ladies and gentlemen. This is the final thought. This is the Jerry Springer final thought of the podcast tonight.
Did you get Spencer's comment about favorite underrated scores?
I didn't see that one.
Trying to remember the name. The score for Moon. I'm trying to remember who did it. Damn it.
This is aggravating because I'm almost positive I had the perfect answer for this no more than a few days ago. And now I couldn't tell you what it was.
Fair.
It must have been something I was watching. It had to have been. But outside of Halloween, because that wouldn't be underrated, probably any of Carpenter's scores.
Mm-hmm.
Very timely.
Clint
Yes.
Mansell is who I'm thinking of. Clint Mansell's Moon score.
While we're on Clint Mansell, actually, his main theme for Wind Chill is amazing. And I feel like would be one of those sort of stock scores that everybody uses, like the theme to Requiem for a Dream, which I believe is also his, by the way.
I'm going to go with Up.
Up, the Oscar-winning score from Up.
Well, to be fair, it's not
Underrated
like obvious.
scores, yeah.
It's not an obvious score that you'd think of, though. A lot of other stuff gets overshadowed by it.
Okay, fine. You want to go that route? I can go that route. What about the Royal Tenenbaums?
I'm trying to remember I only remember the pre-existing songs. I'm trying to remember the score to it.
Do I really like when it comes to music that most people don't even think of when they think of these things? Saving Mr. Banks.
Is that Newman?
Yeah. Nice, light, fluffy score. Always enjoyed it. Oh.
I think that's everything. Yeah, Josephine clarified it is Pet Movies, and that Sean Astin will join.
Yes.
By default.
Brother, I know you really got into scores at one point. Anything jump to mind for you?
There we go. I was muted. Honestly, I know it's not Elfman, but I think the score for like the Batman Schumacher movies is a little underrated.
Yeah, I can see that.
Hmm.
Who did do that?
I'm not sure.
Let's have a quick check. Batman Forever. No, I don't want that. I don't want to click soundtrack just in case it's just, not what I want. Elliot Goldenthal did the score to Batman Forever. And then Batman and Robin. Oh, Batman and Robin was him as well. So yeah, Elliot Goldenthal, who did Alien 3, Pet Sematary, Drugstore Cowboy, Demolition Man, Interview with the Vampire, Heat. Oh wait, he's the one that did Heat?
So
He did Heat?
also shout out. I know it would seem ridiculous to call any John Williams score underrated, but when you look at the grand scheme and all of the stuff of his that gets critical acclaim, his Hook score is not
Yeah.
recognized enough.
Elliot's not done a lot really in the last few years in terms of film or TV stuff. His last thing was The Glorias with Julie Taymor, is his long-term partner, so. But not a lot since. Oh, Final Fantasy Spirits Within as well. One of the only good things that probably came out of the Final Fantasy stuff outside of the games. Right. Prince of Egypt's a really underrated score,
That's
as
your show.
Been mentions. And had a great time chatting with you. Going to shout out before Mum and I watch the next White Lotus Sicily episode. Anyway, I can end the poll now.
Wow.
Officially reveal that it's pretty much the same order with a little change here and there. Santa is dead. Leave Her to Heaven will be coming up in 2 weeks' time.
Huh?
So that'll be the 12th. Well, week beginning the 12th. If you look at Monday beginning of the week, and then just around Christmas time will be That Thing You Do. And then we start
That's good. That's our final Oscar predictions of 2022
as well.
That's that same week.
Yeah.
That's one of those three skis where all 3 days are covered.
And then it'll be Scott Pilgrim versus the World next. And then I could have saved money by not buying this until after Christmas when it'll probably be on sale.
Now the question is, are we willing to do it? Do you guys want us to do a QA show on Christmas Day?
I don't know that that's going to be manageable.
No, probably not. Because that would mean Movie Club on the 26th, and 27th would be our final Oscar predictions.
The crazy thing is, I might have to watch my film 4 times. Because there's like 2 different versions on the Blu-ray. And then there's the version on the special edition. And then there's the one that I ordered, which is the standard edition, which I'm pretty sure is a different cut as well.
Good Lord.
My January's going to be fun.
All right.
Yeah, so that is
Do the outro.
that's your lot for this time round. So we'll be back tomorrow, same time, about 6 p.m. Eastern, to cover They Live.
Yep.
And discuss all that. And then 7 p.m. Eastern, Tuesday, where Owen, AJ, and myself will be doing our November Oscar predictions. And we'll be discussing the stuff there as well. So I have to make sure that I get my WordPad notepad document out and copy the comments in from Spencer regarding them. Probably do that now while we're doing the outro. Dun dun dun. So, in terms of other stuff on the network, whole heap of stuff. So many sip and snacks to come. I need to.
You have no idea how I'm on private right now.
I need to get my snack stash sorted. Which now that we have the proper Christmas menu out, I'm trying to work out how I can do a Christmas menu for a breakfast item. Because that's the first time they've done that I've noticed. AJ's movie reviews. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think what's coming out like in the next coming weeks. Like what isn't in the cinemas before Avatar.
Violent Night is on.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
this coming.
That's the one. Yeah, coming this week.
I can tell you that Bones and All and Disenchanted will be a video.
Okay.
And Weird and Enola Holmes 2 and Causeway will be a video once. It's like I'm struggling with Causeway. It's only an hour and a half, and I'm struggling with it, but you'll find out why. And yeah, some catch-up verses, and then like I've been saying, because I know I'm not going to be able to rein myself in, the English is probably just going to be 6 consecutive videos, one for each episode.
Oh wow, we've got Emancipation's out this week as well on Apple Plus. Oh, and Neil Jordan's Marlowe, another Diary of a Wimpy Kid animated film. Oh, and Empire of Light. Yeah, it comes out here at the end of January. God damn it.
Chris.
Yeah, Chris, give us your Instagram stuff.
Instagram at Chris Hunts Toys. Also, the Figures and Flippy Shit podcast, which you can find on any of your major podcast carriers. And also check out the website at figuresandflippys.wordpress.com.
In terms of that, you can find the network on Popcast Network. Owen will be publicising it as well on his own channel at Sir Owen Disney. At channel page. I'm on Twitter at Ash is my name UK. AJ cannot be found on social media. And just like Keith Richards knows how to play a guitar. I'm not saying, comprehensively.
It's been a very long time.
Strum the thing. That's all that matters. And also cannot be killed with conventional weapons.
It's been a very long time, and it was at a very basic level.
Yeah. We're covering bases, don't worry. So thank you to Josephine, to Spencer, Bry, and everybody else that didn't chat and may have lurked or whatever. All those of you catching on the archive. And until tomorrow, boys and girls, I love dogs.